Hello, this is Myra Elaine on the Buying Space channel. Today I'm doing Adult Bible Studies, God Abides, Winter 2023 to 2024. And this week, let me show you our reading list for this week. And out of this list, I have selected Hosea chapter 6, verses 1 through 6. The ones in Matthew are in the four Gospels, which I'm doing a reading on those. I've already read through Matthew, and I'm reading through Psalms right now. So Deuteronomy, Hosea, and Zechariah were my choices. So I'm choosing Hosea 6, 1 to 6. Now, this is after Hosea came after the Babylonian captivity. He arrived on the scene after Israel had been divided. After the death of King David, it was divided into Israel and Judea. And Hosea, we don't know exactly where he's from, but he's from the northern part. So he's from Judea. And here is chapter 6, starting in verse 1. Come and let us return to the Lord, for he has torn, but will heal us. He has stricken, but he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us. On the third day he will raise up, that we may live in his sight. Come, let us know. Let us pursue the knowledge of the Lord. His going forth is established as the morning. He will come to us like rain, and latter and former rain to the earth. O Ephraim, what shall I do to you? O Judah, what shall I do to you? For your faithlessness is like a morning cloud. Faithfulness is like the morning cloud, and like the early dew, it goes away. Therefore I have hewn them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth. And your judgments are like light that goes forth. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. So we have another period of history where Judah, or Israel, has turned against God, and they are worshiping Baal again. And as tired as I am reading about that, I can't imagine God's position on it, because we truly are like children to him. And here it says here, he has torn like a lion tears away the flesh. Israel, or Judea, has been punished again here by God, but he is willing to have mercy instead of sacrifice, because he loves his people. But just like a child, if they misbehave, they need to be corrected. So here we have the lack of knowledge in the land. So things had gone so astray that people didn't even know the law of Moses. They were, committing sexual sins, adultery, fornication. And it mentions cursing in here, and worshiping other idols and putting up idols of other deities. And they had forgotten about the one true God. So he punished them. And it's important here that we look at the fact that he's willing to have mercy on us when we go astray. It's like you don't turn away from your flesh and blood. You don't turn away from your children. No matter what they do, you're supposed to have that unconditional love. God is our living example of not turning away from our children. Because look at all the human race has done. Yet God is still there for us if we just ask. If we just ask for forgiveness and accept Jesus Christ in our hearts, we are on our way to heaven. We are forgiven. No matter what we've done. That's the strange thing. Let's say they're two brothers. And one has been good all of his life. Never committed a crime. Always took care of mom. Was a good husband, good father to his children. And then there's the other brother who's been a criminal all his life. Maybe sent mom a card every once in a while. Maybe not. Maybe called her on the holiday or birthday. Maybe not. Depending upon what was happening that day. Whether he had time to mess with anything like that at all. And he became a serial killer. And he's on death row. So his brother comes to see him on his death row. And his brother, who's about to get lethal injection, tells him about God. That he needs to be saved. That he's been saved and he's been redeemed and he's going to heaven right before he receives his lethal injection. Do you think God's forgiven him if he really believes in God and accepts Jesus Christ in his heart? Absolutely, positively, yes. And the brother who's been good all his life, but who's not acknowledged God, he's not going to heaven. Even though he's done the right things and been good all of his life. Now that's kind of mind-blowing and mind-numbing. Here, the whole nation has turned against God, worshiping other deities, putting up idols, foul-mouthed, committing adultery. Just completely morally out of control. But does God walk away? No, he does not. He punishes them, but then, because they have to suffer the consequences of their action, but then he forgives them and gives them another chance to redeem themselves. The first 3 chapters of Hosea are absolutely, positively weird to me. God advises Hosea to marry a prostitute. They get married, they're happy, they have 3 kids, and then she cheats on him. You know, her nature was that to start with. She was a prostitute and harlot to start with. And she behaved herself for a while. But then a leopard does not change its spots, and she went back to living with other men. And God told that man, go get your wife. Pay her debts to these other men she's been involved with and bring her home and forgive her. And that's what he did. Can you imagine? I have some in-laws that to this day, there are people in that family that tell me, or told me this past year, that he had every right to kill her because she was committing adultery. Ironically, this person that told me this had committed adultery. But anyway, they said that they legally had the right to kill her. And this was one of my sister-in-law, which was really funny because all kinds of people in that family have committed adultery. But they're justifying the killing of her. And my brother-in-law spent 8 years in prison for attempting to kill his wife. So I find it ironic that there is no forgiveness for that in the real world. But God forgives it because we are like harlots and we are like the whores that commit adultery when we do not worship God. If we start worshiping other things, we are being disloyal and we are breaking our vows like a bride or a groom breaking their vows. It's a covenant we have with God. And if we break that, that is sinful and guilty. But you know what? God will let us suffer the consequences of us breaking our covenant and vows. But we'll always, always be his children. And he'll always forgive us. He sent his only son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us so that we can be forgiven. All we have to do is believe. If you want to talk to me further about your salvation, my email address is on my About page. And I would be happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk to me about their salvation, because a lot of people out there, they've done this and they've done that, and they can't believe that God would forgive them. But guess what? No matter what you've done, he will forgive you. You all have a wonderful and blessed day.